and we are kicking off our PBDI presentations. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, my name is Meryem. I am a registered dietitian by trade and currently a postdoc at the School of Medicine in Endocrinology and Pediatrics. And today I'll be sharing some of the results from the first part of our study on whole food plant-based dietary patterns in youth who live with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. So the premise of this study really started from the fact that we know in adults, minimally processed plant-based foods have been shown to improve metabolic outcomes, but that kind of studies are still underexplored in kids, specifically kids who live with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. So for the objectives of this study, we really wanted to evaluate how these kids were eating right now, and especially kids who were seen at the Stanford Children's Hospital, and also see if there are any relationships between plant-based food intake and metabolic outcomes. So here, just to start with describing a little bit what these kids' parameters look like. As you can see, we compared the prediabetes and type 2 diabetes diagnoses, and overall, they're quite similar. The only two differences, as expected, the hemoglobin A1C, which is the marker of glucose levels in the body, were much higher in the type 2 diabetes diagnosis compared to prediabetes, and also for the alanine transminase, which was higher in type 2 diabetes. Now, for the fun stuff, what we did is that we used a food frequency questionnaire. So we asked them, do you usually eat this kind of food? And then we took all of these foods, about 140, and we categorized them based on if they were more plant-based, ultra-processed, or unprocessed. And as you can see here, we didn't really find any differences in terms of the prediabetes versus type 2 diabetes diagnosis in terms of their consumption. And I put some examples in terms of what we defined as either ultra-processed or plant or animal. So then what we did is that we also created a score based on those 140 food items, and we wanted to see if there were any correlations between the score that we came up with and the cardiometabolic outcomes. So we looked at systolic blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure, we looked at hemoglobin A1C again, and we looked at some lipid markers and some liver markers as well. We didn't find any significant associations with the average score, but that is most likely due to the fact that we had a really small sample size. This was very pilot oriented, but we did see an inverse trend. I don't know if I can. Yeah, I can. So we did see an inverse trend with the alanine transminase that I talked about earlier and the HbA1c as well. So there is a signal there that we should potentially explore. So in terms of our limitations for this study, again, the sample size is the major one. We also used food frequency questionnaires, so that's really relying on if they can remember what they ate in the last month, instead of a food journal where we asked them, like, for example, to tell us what they're eating that day or even take pictures with the new technology now. We also had some confounders that could influence that relationship that we were evaluating, like some of the kids that we were following or that we surveyed were using medication for their condition. Some of them had diabetes for a much longer duration than others, and there were other comorbidities that also can affect those outcomes. But in terms of the strengths, I don't know if you noticed that in the first table I showed, we did have a good sociodemographic representation of groups that usually are underrepresented. So we had about 50-50 in terms of Spanish-speaking and English-speaking at home. And this is just a list of the team members who made this work possible, and I just want to thank specifically Dr. Johnson and Dr. Adala, who led this work initially and were the initial grant recipients. I just joined recently, and it was really a pleasure to work on this. And thank you all for giving me the opportunity to present this, and you for listening.
So the starting point for this work is that in areas ranging from drug discovery to the design of new materials, we've seen really remarkable progress in AI. And there's a natural question of what AI can do for sustainable food. So a common practice at sustainable food companies is to run what's called a sensory panel to evaluate the sensory properties of the current formulation. Based on the feedback, the food scientists then go back to the drawing board to generate ideas for a new formulation. This is typically a very time-consuming and expensive process, so we ask the question of what AI can contribute to scientific discovery for food. And we found that large language models can indeed act as high-level collaborators for food scientists, with their suggestions for how to improve products actually estimated to save more time than these suggestions of a fellow expert food scientist. Language models are just one technique we're using, and we also have ongoing work using graph neural networks and Bayesian optimization for sensory prediction and formulation optimization. I also want to mention another part of our work in which we found that combining LLMs with combinatorial optimization techniques can help to design menus in which climate impacts of food choices are significantly lower without impacting customer satisfaction. So we ran an experiment on Prolific with more than 800 participants, and we found that our method helped created menus that decreased food choices by around 79% while maintaining customer satisfaction. And this outperformed natural baselines such as vegetarian menus and just prompting large language models on their own. So I'm really grateful to all of my collaborators on this, Maya Mather, Dan Jarafsky, Christina Gligorich, and Adam Yee and Andrew Main. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm one of those people who also really likes acronyms, so we're talking about TACOs, Traditional and Contemporary Meat Options Studies. Did I turn it off? Is this coming out of my 3 minutes? Oh, no. Thank you. I did this work with the Humane and Sustainable Food Lab with my colleagues Seth Green, Jacob Peacock, and Maya Mather. And what we're interested in is what happens when people eat plant-based meat analogs. What are they replacing in their diet? Are they replacing animal foods like you would think since it's a meat analog? Or are they just going from one plant-based food to another plant-based food? We were especially interested in chicken in our lab. The yellow line here is chicken, and it has become the most popular meat in America. And unfortunately, chickens are arguably treated worse than any other CAFO-raised animal. So we surveyed 4,331 people and asked them to place a taco order. People were randomized to receive 3 different kinds of Chipotle menus. Some people got the regular Chipotle menu, and some people got this. You can see the last one is a plant-based meat analog I invented called Chickenitas. And I didn't invent an actual thing. We just put something on the menu. And we wanted to see what they ordered. And they mostly ordered meat. So from the yellow bar on down is all the meat filling options. But the green bar at the top, so in that first column, those people could not order a plant-based meat analog. And there were some people who ordered the veggie, which is in green, and a few people in the top gray who said, I just wouldn't order any of these. When Sofritas was introduced, so then this is the actual real Chipotle menu. You can see how the orange bar is taking away share from the green and the gray. So unfortunately, the meat consumption, the yellow on down, is exactly the same. So it was just that people were switching from one plant-based option to a new one. And the same thing happened when we added Chickenitas. Still, the shares came from the people who had already been choosing plant-based options. We did see a tiny decrease in the selection of chicken when they had the Chickenitas option, but that was very negligible. So what do these results mean? They mean that it's not enough. It's not enough to just have more options. We need to help people move toward reducing meat consumption in some other way. Right now, it's just plant eaters eating different plants. So I'm really excited today that we're learning new ways to grab people's attention and come up with new solutions. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Skyler St. Pierre, and I'm a 6th-year PhD candidate in Ellen Kuhl's lab. And we know that taste is really important for why people choose certain foods, but texture is another big characteristic. And so in my work, I try and bridge the texture gap between plant and animal meats through a combination of mechanical testing, sensory tasting surveys, and then ultimately modeling how all these factors work together. So for testing, we use a combination of mechanical type tests So on the video, I'm showing the texture profile analysis test, which mimics the act of chewing. And so you can see that it kind of does these two little compressions, and that's supposed to mimic biting a sample 2 times. And from this, we can get really nice quantitative data. And so here I'm just showing some quick results looking at the Beyond Burger, where we tested it both raw and cooked. And of course, we can see that it gets stiffer when you cook it. And from this, we can extract a lot of nice parameters that are reproducible and reliable. In addition, we also looked at tasting texture. And so we, in collaboration with Chef Andrew Main, just recently got the IRB approval to do a Stanford dining hall survey looking at 4 different plant and animal-based meatballs. So we're going to be having students eat alt meat protein, plant-forward proteins, animal protein, and hybrid proteins. So 1 and 2 are going to be these plant-based ones, and 3 and 4 the animal. And we're going to be asking them questions ranging from how are they perceiving different texture words like chewiness or softness, and then also asking about what factors influence why they're choosing certain products. Dining halls are really interesting because price is not a factor in what students eat because you have the same meal swipe regardless of what you go in for. And so it's kind of a really nice controlled environment to see why people are choosing certain products. And then lastly, I'm looking at modeling meat mechanics. And so right now, my work is using simple stress strain data, and then we can output mechanical properties using physics-based machine learning and neural networks. But ultimately, as both Ellen and Christopher and everyone else have been talking about, our goal is really to be able to incorporate ingredients and other sensory properties, and then be able to predict how people are going to perceive the product in the end without needing to do time-consuming sensory surveys. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Mehak Pargi and I'm the research program coordinator from the Nourish Project. So what our main goal is at the Nourish Project is to provide a balance between people's love for their food, and we do this by creating culturally tailored recipes that are all already approved by a diverse group of individuals that make up our team. So what are our project aims? We hope to enhance participants' understanding of a plant-based diet using culturally tailored recipes. We want to encourage sustainable adaptation of plant-based eating habits. We want participants to have a confidence in preparing plant-based meals through hands-on instruction, and we hope to help participants make informed food choices. Through all of this current study, we hope to develop future teaching kitchen classes for employee wellness. So our study overview. Our study, so this is our plant-based teaching kitchen program that we are going to be hosting at the Stanford dining halls. And we'll start off by having our recruitment and screening, then we'll have our enrollment, the teaching kitchen program, post-class surveys, and our study closeout, which includes a recipe booklet and gift. So what does our teaching kitchen program include? So we will have 2 in-person sessions. They'll be 3 hours each, and they'll be held on December 6th and 13th, with both the morning and afternoon session provided. Each session will contain culturally tailored nutrition education, chef-led cooking, recipe tasting, and a group discussion. So our class curriculum. Our class curriculum has been designed with the help of Dahlia, our registered dietitian, and Chef Andrew. So on day 1, we will introduce what is a plant-based diet and talk about what are different types of nutrients in plant-based proteins. We will then talk about how you can incorporate these items to make a grocery list if you want to make plant-based meals. We will touch upon ingredient swapping, which is both basic and cultural, and then we'll go into the hands-on portion of our session, which is how to safely use a knife and talk about kitchen safety. On day 2, we will introduce the plate method and talk about what are the main food groups that make up a balanced meal. We'll also talk about the different meal prep strategies, and we'll segue into the hands-on portion of our session. We'll introduce different cooking methods. And then lastly, we'll touch upon plant-forward dining options at Stanford. So our menu. These are the foods that you'll be able to make and take home with you. So on day 1, you will have lentil dal, roasted vegetables, and tofu chocolate mousse. I found the last one to be really interesting because it's a plant-based protein in the form of a dessert. On day 2, we will have savory oats. This is actually Chef Andrew's favorite recipe, seed loaves, Spanish chickpea food, and date balls. So a big thank you to everyone on this slide who has helped make this event possible, and a big thank you to PBDI for all of your support. Please come, cook, learn, and connect. I have the QR code appear if I hope you all find this very interesting to scan to learn about this study and more Nourish programs. And as a reminder, this will be held on December 6th and 13th with both morning and afternoon options located at the Stanford Teaching Kitchen. And this is the plant-based teaching kitchen program funded by the Plant-Based Diet Initiative. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vayu Hilmaini. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Bioengineering here at Stanford. And my intro to Stanford was actually last year at this summit. So it's kind of weird to be up here a year into my faculty career, but also really exciting to share what we've been able to do over the last year. So our laboratory is in the Department of Bioengineering, and we're really focused on ways that we can improve the food system, thinking about how to innovate to create new, sustainable, delicious foods. And we really bridge a vast range of disciplines, ranging from synthetic biology to biochemistry to gastronomy, the world of food and cooking. So if we think about sustainability in the food system, we have to think about the issue of waste. Over 30% of all the food that is produced is wasted somewhere along the supply chain. And this actually counts for a big portion of the food system emissions, several gigatons. And not only is this an environmental issue, but it also is an economic issue. In the US alone, it costs us about 1% of GDP's worth of losses in dollars. So, and finally, food security. If we're not growing food that's reaching people, then we're not having a secure and nourishing food system. So addressing waste can really help hit the human and planetary health aspects of the food system. So our idea is to, instead of, there's many ways you can interfere here. A lot of waste is just coming out of food manufacturing. And we're thinking about how can we just take the waste that's generated from large-scale food production and turn it back into human food. And while a lot of this waste is edible, think about soy milk waste when you make soy milk, or whenever you make vegetable oil, all the seeds that are left over. But they're not that tasty or nutritious. And so our angle is to harness fermentation, an ancient biotechnology that humans have used for thousands of years to transform raw materials into deliciousness, to use that to turn waste into food. So with the support of the PBDI grant, we're able to hire this incredible student, AK, who did her bachelor's here at Stanford in material science and then a master's in chemical engineering. And she's a professional chef, and she's worked around at some of the world's best restaurants, including Noma in Copenhagen. So it's a really rare talent that you find here at Stanford. So we brought her on board into our laboratory, and then we went into the kitchen, collaborating with Chef Andrew Main of the Residential Dining Enterprises, and started fermenting, experimenting with different substrates, different microbes, seeing what the possibilities were. And then we started analyzing the outcomes. What is the nutritional outcome? What is the flavor outcome? Working closely with Justin Sonnenberg in microbiology. And this led us, this was we basically used the funding for a quarter to sort of start seeding these ideas. And we reached a point where we came up with amazing prototypes, plant-based sausage, cheese, and other things made from fermentation of waste. And also a lot more funding. So in the last year, we've grown our funding by 50 times that the PBDI investment gave us, so it was a really worthwhile thing for us. We were able to kind of seed ideas that led to more opportunities, and also bring in 4 people dedicated to this project. And I think that just speaks to the power of these seed grants to catalyze, bigger initiatives, and we've been really grateful to benefit from that. And I want to thank everybody who's been part of it, and AK, who is taking a gap year, but hopefully will be back as a PhD student shortly. Thank you.
My team is in the back. I'm new to this. Thanks to Christopher and Jennifer for having us here. I wear 2 hats at Stanford. I'm an associate professor at the Department of Pathology. I'm a practicing pathologist, but I also trained as a hematologist, oncologist, and I'm doing hematopathology. But I also, for most of my time, I'm a clinician scientist and do basic science research on inflammation and fibrosis. And that's what brought me to this. So where's my cursor here? Got it. being blind. Green. I'm red-green blind now. So Christoph already alluded to this, but most commercial oils come from large-scale industrial agriculture. Crops grown with pesticides, herbicides, all these other, toxic things, and then they get heated up, they get highly processed. Then there's this hexane step, and what's left is there are all these things which are very nutritious in seeds are gone basically, and there's just a lot of the industrial remnants of industrial agriculture is left in there. So there is a politicalization of seed oils in this country, so I don't want to go down that road, but Christopher, you wrote a really nice article in the New York Times about this. Yes, you said, the consumers think seed oils are better than lard or butter, but it's not the kind of food our bodies are designed to use, these highly processed foods. So that's the problem we set out to solve. So this is our collaboration with Ole's Oil Mill. Disclosure here, she's also my sister. And she, since decades, had been educating me to not eat meat and do things, and I never listened. And finally, I am the older sister, she's the younger one. So she is going back to our Austrian roots. We have a many hundred-year back tradition of cold-pressed seed oils because it's in the north, it's in the Alps, so there's no olive trees. That was the only old source of food oils in the past. So, and Germans are technically pretty good, so they developed these expeller presses where you get out of these seeds, you get a lot of, with cold pressing, very good amounts of very high quality foods. And there's a whole culture in Austria where this is more used as a spice than, there's of course downsides. They are not highly, you cannot heat them up highly except some exceptions, but they are really delicious, how Uli does them. So, a proof of that is her New York Times thing. Is there a pointer too? Is this the palm tree? Yeah. So she won numerous good food awards with her oils. Every year some other seed. She also interacts with local farmers, goes really in biodiversity, and so everything is grown here locally, but she uses this old Austrian process. And we know that her seed oils contain all the good things seed oil should contain. They're highly in vitamins, antioxidants, and they have high omega-3. But of course, nobody does scientific testing of seed oils as we do in our biomedical science. So I said, Ole, why don't we team up? There's so much rumors about this. So and then of course, Christopher being a legend in Stanford. Ole told me about you as well. I've been here since 2008, but I only came here last year, and I was so thrilled. So yeah, Ole wants to produce very nutritious and delicious foods. So here is our proposal. So our approach is unique because we combine craftsmanship with state-of-the-art science. And I just opened up a new collaboration with UC Berkeley. Fuad is in the back. He got his PhD in, Fuad, can you stand up, please? They all refuse to come out here. So he's a magician. He got his PhD in nutrition and is working with Julia Shaletsky at this super high-tech new metabolomic mass spec in UC Berkeley. So that's why I thought that's what we need, because I started off with a collaboration here with Raj last year, but his lab was shutting down and he had very old equipment, but he helped us generate wonderful, initial promising preliminary data, and that's actually Uli seeds oils, as you can appreciate on these down here. This is camelina, which is an old Celtic seed oil. This is scalable and also heat-proof. I'm done, okay, thank you. There is also black cumin. Maybe I should use my glasses to see what I'm having here. And then there is also pumpkin seed oil, Styrian pumpkin seed oil. So that's what he tested. And each of these peaks shows you that there is really a great healthy things in there, except he didn't have a computational program. So that's UC Berkeley will help solve us this puzzle. We just got fresh pressed oils. Uli just brought them over. And we are now doing this high-tech next-gen mass spec approach with Forward, and that's our collaboration in process with Uli. Uli, stand up in the back. She's also next here. This is Uli. She's doing this from her home kitchen, all food certified, and then the Berkeley Molecular Therapeutics Initiative, and that's their brand new mass spectrometer, so where we can really do this chemical profiling by high resolution mass spec, metabolomics, lipidomics. Thank you, guys.
Hi, I'm Rani Agrawal. I'm with School of Medicine in CV Med. I have a degree in Ayurveda and yoga, and my study is going to be based on principles of Ayurveda, which is ancient Indian medicine, started like in 2 BC, and we have a lot of texts. I'm not sure if any of you, I'm sure like it's getting very popular. A lot of people know about Ayurveda. So I just want to give you an overview what Ayurveda is. So we are trying to see if we can reduce the cholesterol in patients with Ayurvedic diet, yoga, and breathing. So this is the topics I'll cover. It will cover Ayurveda, what is our hypothesis, what is the study design, and we haven't started recruiting the patients because we have to get the IRB approved, and then our timeline. So as I said, Ayurveda is an ancient Indian holistic system, which is based on a very individual person, like I can never say this word right, personalized medicine. So we basically figure out what are the doshas of the people, and every one of us is born with a specific prakriti, and the doshas are vata, pitta, and kapha, and the diseases are caused because of the imbalances of these doshas. So vata is governed by air, and it's the movement in the body, which includes like breathing, your circulation, your nerve impulses, and pitta is governed by heat, so it helps with metabolism and transformation, and kapha is more of structure, lubrication, and stability, and is responsible for immunity and growth. So our hypothesis is, people will follow a personalized Ayurvedic diet, yoga, and breathing, and then it will help them to reduce the cardiovascular markers, and we are trying to reduce reliance on medication in these cases. So our study design is, we are trying to recruit 5 patients in each group. There will be an intervention group, and there will be a control group. Intervention group will have consultations for their diet, yoga, and breathing, and a control group will be just plant-based diet, hopefully, and then we'll monitor them with their cholesterol and blood pressure. So Ayurvedic medicine is basically based on taking the pulse of the patient, and it can be very subjective. So there are a lot of I don't know what to call it, instruments which can help take the pulse. So we are going to use something called Veda pulse, which helps us to determine the pulse of the patient. And depending on that, we'll figure out if they are Vata, Pitta, or Kapha dosha, which is out of the balance. And depending on that, we'll design their diet, their yoga practices, and their breathing practices. Sorry. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leah Gropo, and I'm here representing our team of clinical dietitians. I wanted to start off and ask you all a question. Raise your hand if you've ever heard somebody say, plant-rich diets, sorry, plant-rich diets are not filling, or a plant-based meal is not filling. I have a couple hands. Okay, I see a group at the back. Okay, great. Also, the next question is, have you ever heard someone say, if I'm eating plant-forward, plant-rich, plant-based, will I get full? Will I be satisfied? Will it be delicious? Raise your hand if you've ever heard that. Doesn't mean you think it, if you've heard it. Okay, I really like the back corner. The back corner is great. So these are the questions that our team, really as clinical dietitians, we hear so often. So we're providers, we're patient-facing, we see patients all day, we teach classes, we get all of the questions, like what are on people's minds, we build rapport, so we really kind of get at what are the barriers for people to eating more plant-forward diets within our different clinics. So we came together as a team, we did a cooking demo around tofu, and we had so much positive feedback, and also we just looked at each other at the end and we said, how do we make more of this happen in our professional life? It was so fun. We recipe tested, we cooked, it was a great time. And then on the internet, we saw this grant pop up. And we thought as a group, this sounds like a way to add a lot more of that to our life. So that's kind of the origin story of our team. There is a pointer. I'm not sure if I can use it. But our team is Dania, Elena, myself, Gina, and Alex. And so we're all registered dietitians. Elena is also a PA. So we're multidisciplinary. And when we got together as this team, we really thought, what are our patients asking? What are the big questions? And we decided we wanted to make videos. I only have 2 slides, but lots of stories. We wanted to make videos, and in those videos, we wanted to take what does a day of plant-based eating look like? How do I go from breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks? We all love snacks, especially dietitians. How do we make this happen? How do we answer these questions? What types of recipes? What are our thought process? How do we infuse health, nutrition, fiber to our day? So that's what we're really going to try to answer. We've already had one meeting where we recipe tested, which was a blast. We had a whole day of eating food and cooking each other's recipes and modifying them. And what we really found at that is we were able to connect all of our different recipes and say, oh, we could add this as the bottom of this, and we could really connect and weave through the day that someone could kind of watch the whole videos. Finally, I just wanted to go over, we've not created our videos yet, we're in process, but I've already had patients ask me questions. I had a patient just yesterday, she said, Leah, I have a running group. They're all gonna stop by my house and I'm supposed to provide this snack for everyone. And I said, I'm doing this grant with friends and I'm focused on snacks. So I sent the snacks and she sent me a My Health message back and she said, I'm gonna be the most delicious and popular house at the end of this. So that's what we wanna do. So we just really appreciate the time and wanted to connect with everyone. If you have favorite recipes, favorite ideas, things that really encourage people in your life to eat more plant-forward, please share with all of us. Thank you.